Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's Astrology News Report, an alternate view of world events as seen through the lens of Vedic astrology, presented by yours truly, Ron Berger. Today is June 28th, 2020. In this segment, we'll take a look at what's coming up in the zodiac for July 2020. But before we begin, a note to all viewers. This channel has moved to a paid subscription format. You are watching the once-a-month free public video. If you would like to have access to the rest of this month's upcoming weekly reports, stick around for the link at the end of this video to make your donation. Thanks. July begins with some holdovers from June. While transiting in sidereal Gemini, Mercury is still retrograde until July 12th. Mercury is in more trouble this month compared to June because by the beginning of July, Mars has moved into position to send its malefic square aspect to Mercury. The square aspect of the planet of combat distorts the planet of rational thinking, which isn't behaving rationally in any case due to its retrograde condition. The Mars square puts a lot of pressure on Mercury. Mars is the planet of force and impatience. Mars wants results now. Retrograde Mercury is prone to make mistakes anyway, so the Mars square just makes it all worse. Mars is the planet of conflict. Its influence on Mercury, while Mercury is retrograde, means that the miscommunication typical of Mercury retrograde can easily degenerate into anger. Note that Mercury is in its own sign, Gemini, which puts an emphasis on Gemini qualities. Gemini is the information junkie of the zodiac. Rahu is in Gemini as well. In Vedic astrology, Rahu is a significator of obsession, and since it is an eclipse point, Rahu also creates distortion. Rahu plus Mercury in Gemini makes for an addiction to news reports, which are getting distorted due to Mercury's retrograde condition. Thus, the planet of communications, ideas and reasons, the media, and so forth, will be behaving badly during early July. Since Mercury is the planet of making rational decisions, this is not a good time to make an important decision. After its retrograde is over on July 12th, it takes Mercury a couple of weeks to get back up to normal forward speed. During this time, the relative speeds of Mars and Mercury are similar, which will keep the Mars square Mercury pattern in effect through the rest of July. In other words, the planet of facts and rational thinking and making decisions will still be under pressure from the planet of force and impatience. Mercury finally gets away from Mars's influence when it changes signs by moving into sidereal Cancer on August 1st. In another part of the zodiac, something interesting happens as we transition from June to July. Retrograde Jupiter and retrograde Pluto are changing signs. While they leave Capricorn and back into Sagittarius, they are exactly conjunct each other. This means that the triple conjunction of Saturn, Jupiter, and Pluto, all three retrograde and conjunct since last May, will be breaking up. Jupiter is the great benefic in Vedic astrology, and even though Jupiter will be in better shape in its own sign, Sagittarius, it still has to contend with the exact conjunction of retrograde Pluto. That's Jupiter, planet of wealth and prosperity, faith and optimism, truth and justice, exactly conjunct Pluto, the planet of complete destruction and mass events. And both are retrograde, moving backwards, which makes them simultaneously strong but behaving abnormally. The two planets stay closely conjunct all through July. Therefore, Jupiter's significations are still under threat for this month. Since Jupiter moves faster than Pluto, it will eventually get away from Pluto after several weeks and be better able to manifest itself without so much interference from Pluto. Then, in September, Jupiter ends its retrograde period, returns to normal forward motion, and will be in even better condition to promote its potential for optimism and confidence, prosperity and justice. But remember, this is Jupiter, the planet of truth, in Sagittarius, the sign of personal belief and self-righteousness. In other words, everybody promoting their own truth, just in time for the final weeks leading up to the U.S. election. Venus completed its retrograde period in the last week of June and now is returning to normal forward motion while in its own sign, sidereal Taurus. So here's something to cheer about. The planet of romance, agreement, guidance, and finance is getting back to normal. Venus is the ruler of Taurus, so Taurus significations are enhanced as well. Venus is the planet of values, in other words, what's valuable to you. Taurus is the sensual materialist of the zodiac. The result is there's an emphasis now on sensual pleasures. People are desperate for relief from all the anxiety due to the epidemic and the economic situation, and badly want to return to normal. So they look for ways to indulge themselves. The last day of July will be the last day of Venus in Taurus. On July 31st, Venus leaves Taurus and enters Gemini, setting up a whole new pattern in the zodiac, which I'll be covering in a future report. Another interesting astrological event this month is the July new moon, which happens on July 20th at 4 degrees sidereal Cancer. What makes this new moon special is that it will be exactly opposed by Saturn, which is hanging out on the opposite side of the zodiac at 4 degrees Capricorn. Note that Saturn is retrograde, making the planet of restrictions stronger than usual. Any planetary pattern that involves the new moon sets the tone for the coming lunar month. In this case, we have Saturn, the reality check planet, the planet of established order, the planet of rules and regulations, going backwards and opposing the energy of the Cancer new moon. The sign Cancer is associated with the public. So, this new moon is an indication that the harsh realities of the public's circumstances continue during this coming lunar month that stretches from late July into August. In the World Events and Politics Department, we see that the Mars transit in Pisces, which began in the middle of June, will still be causing problems with the USA Vedic astrology chart during July. Pisces is the 4th house of the USA chart. The 4th house of a nation's chart represents the lands of the country. It's also the people who live on the land, in other words, the common people. It's also the house that is opposite to the 10th house of the leadership. At this point in time, the 10th house is the Republicans, and the 4th house would be the Democrats. Mars puts energy into whichever sign and house it transits through. So, the Democrats are energized. Mars is also the planet of combat, and when it transits opposite to the 10th house, the common people are in conflict mode with their leadership. Also, Mars is the planet of destruction. Pisces is one of the water signs. The 4th house, again, is the lands of the nation. Therefore, this Mars transit is an indication of storms and flooding during July and August for the USA. Okay, so there's a brief look at planetary patterns for July 2020. And now a reminder, you have been watching Astrology News Reports once a month, free public video. If you would like to see the upcoming weekly reports for this coming month, donate $20 by clicking on or touching the donation card you see at the end of this video, which will take you to the donation page. If $20 for a month is too much for you, you can donate $10. The link to each week's report will be sent to you via your email. Here's a description of what's coming up in the July videos. July 5th, Jupiter plus Pluto in Sagittarius and the effects for your rising sign chart. July 12th, an update on predictions for the USA for the rest of 2020. July 19th, how current transits affect the charts of Donald Trump and Joe Biden. July 26th, a preview of planetary patterns for August 2020. You'll not want to miss out on all these great upcoming videos, so here's the link for your donation. Just click or touch the card, which will take you to the donation page. Thanks, and until next week.